You're watching Election 2019 coverage from WBONTV.com.
McCracken County native Michael G. Adams says he knew he had a knack for politics early on, watching his heroes, such as Ronald Reagan, Jack Kemp, and other Republican leaders. At the young age of 16, the Kentuckian volunteered for the Bush Quayle 92 campaign and got hooked. Adams explained his background in his 2-minute sit-down and says he was the first college graduate on either side of his family. His studies continued at Harvard Law School with the goal to become an election lawyer for Republicans. During his interview, Adams elaborated on his platform and said that he is the most qualified to be the chief election official in the state of Kentucky. He says that with all the turmoil with the current administration, there's a lot of cleaning up to do in the office of Secretary of State. The biggest issue, Adams says, is that there is currently no photo ID requirement when it is time to vote, and that needs to be fixed, and the standards should stay the same across the Commonwealth.
I grew up in Paducah. I was the first in my family to have the ability to graduate from college. Worked my way through, and then I did well enough in my studies to get into Harvard Law School. Went there on low-income aid. So I've been very fortunate in my life to have great blessings and opportunities that I didn't have, my family didn't have before me. I came back from Harvard, back to Kentucky. Instead of staying out east and making money, I came back. I wanted to raise my family here. I wanted to make my career here and be involved as a citizen. So that's what I did. I worked for Senator McConnell. Then I worked for Governor Fletcher. I was his number 2 attorney in his administration, Deputy General Counsel. Then I went into the Bush administration. I was counsel to the Deputy Attorney General of the United States in the second Bush administration. I worked on 2 things primarily. I helped draft regulations for investigating suspected terrorists. I also worked on high-level interagency and interstate prosecution of child pornographers. But I also represent other Republican and conservative organizations and individuals. I'm Vice President Pence's political attorney. Honestly, you can't look at anyone else in the Commonwealth and say they're better qualified than I am to be the chief election official. I think I'm the best qualified person of all 8 people running in both parties. I'm the only one that actually has election experience. The biggest problem I see is that we don't have a photo ID requirement to vote in Kentucky elections. I work with both parties to get it done. It's seen as a Republican issue, but it shouldn't be. Democrats should be for this too. As a matter of fact, there are blue states and red states around the country that have a photo ID requirement. We're one of the outliers in that we don't have one. Our neighboring states have it. I won't name names, but some other candidates for this office I think have been overselling the role of Secretary of State in business development. One candidate is saying that the chief business officer is the Secretary of State. Well, that's blatantly false. The governor is the chief business officer. I'm a strict constructionist. I believe that you follow the laws as they're written. I practice corporate law. I know how to file incorporations and have done so with the state. I know how the process works. To be entirely frank, the policy-making authority of the Secretary of State's office is really in the election field. There's little to no policy role that the Secretary of State plays in job creation or economic development. Or even business filings. It's all automatic. So number one, we've got to have a sense that integrity's been restored. This office should be boring. It shouldn't be in the headlines. I cannot think in my lifetime of a stronger set of candidates to pick from for every single office up and down the ticket. Occasionally we've had instances where we had a great gubernatorial candidate, maybe a great Secretary of State candidate, but we had some lesser candidates for lower offices and we kind of took a pass on those. This is the first time I can remember in my life, or maybe longer, that up and down the ticket we've had really outstanding people running for every single one of the 7 constitutional offices, just real rock stars. I think there's a lot for voters to be inspired by. Whether it's me or someone else, there's great candidates they should come out and vote for.
You're watching Election 2019 coverage from WBONTV.com.